Madam Secretary, thank you for being here today, and thank you for your service to our country. I must say that I am impressed with not only your record, but the record of the Clinton administration in its efforts to pursue and stop al-Qaeda, to provide appropriate responses on behalf of our country, and for the vigor and determination with which your administration acted in these affairs during the time that you were in office. But I'd like to turn to a subject that everybody else in Washington is talking about, so we might as well recognize the elephant in the room.
So to speak.
Understanding as I do all the things that your administration did, I'm perplexed that even though you followed many of Mr. Clark's suggestions, whether it was frequent principals meetings, frequent meetings of the small group, pressure on the Saudis, pressure on the Pakistanis, preparation of the Predator for military action, going after financing, issuing demarches, all of that. And where you didn't follow his advice, you had reasonable and logical explanations for it, some of which you've talked about today and some of which you've talked about in your written testimony. For example, not providing military aid to the Northern Alliance or putting boots on the ground in Afghanistan. But none of the years of the Clinton effort, as vigorous as it was, either stopped the spread of al-Qaeda, brought us Osama bin Laden, or prevented September 11. And it's really hard for me to see how a criticism can be leveled against the Bush administration, which was brand new and had only 7 months to try and look at, and in many cases continue the policy of the Clinton administration towards al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. This was not one of those things they blew up like the Balkans or North Korea. Is that a fair conclusion?
I think that fighting terrorism is a very difficult job, and it is clear from our experience of 8 years. I think it's very hard to find Osama bin Laden. We had a hard time. I regret that they have not been able to find him. It is very difficult. We are dealing with a brand new threat in a way that spreads through these variety of groups where people are given sanctuary, and where, in fact, I think there is a question in the long term how we deal with it in terms of educational issues, in terms of trying to get the moderate Muslims to help us, some of the suggestions that I made. I think what I consider, if I may say so, the great value of this commission is that you are asking exactly these kinds of questions in terms of not just trying to place blame, but trying to learn lessons. When I was first told about the mandate of this commission, that is what it is. And so to get answers and learn lessons without, in fact, just trying to place blame. I do think that it is important to understand how much attention was paid to fighting terrorism in the Bush administration. I can only talk about what we did, and that is that it was constantly on our minds, that President Clinton spoke about it all the time, privately in meetings to foreign leaders as well as publicly, that we did in fact create the national security system that allowed somebody like Dick Clark in the job of being the coordinator, and that I think our record in dealing with this is one that established a variety of policies that I think were on the way towards helping us fight terrorism. But I am not going to say that it is easy, and it is the threat of our time, and the devil's marriage between these shady groups and the spread of weapons of mass destruction is unfortunately the problem that we are all dealing with, that we cannot deed to our children and grandchildren. So I am very glad that this commission is looking into this, because it's the lessons learned, not so much the blame placing.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.